When Emma Carter first stepped onto the bustling campus of Jefferson High as a freshman, she wasn't thinking about college. She was thinking about surviving her father's absence, her mother's second job, and the crushing silence that hung in their small apartment like an extra roommate. Jefferson High smelled of old textbooks and mystery meat, and it sounded like the thunderous stampede of adolescence. Emma kept her head down, her grades up, and her lunch tray light. She was one of those kids who slipped between the cracks. Quiet, polite, invisible. But not to Mrs. Betty Lou Sanders. Betty, the cafeteria lady with laugh lines like rivers down her face, noticed Emma. She noticed everything, really. She noticed when a student stopped eating lunch. She noticed bruises hidden under sleeves. And she noticed Emma always paying with exact change, sometimes just enough for a milk carton. Betty had worked at Jefferson High for 31 years. She never married, never left the county. She wore the same pink apron every day, the same white sneakers, and kept a mason jar on the counter marked, "Tips for a smile." Students thought it was a joke. Who tips in a cafeteria? But every once in a while, someone would drop in a crumpled dollar after Betty had winked and told them, "Good things come to those who smile first." Emma started helping out after school, wiping tables and restocking napkins. She'd sit with Betty in the empty cafeteria, sometimes talking, sometimes just listening. Betty told stories about a brother who went to Vietnam and never came back, about a prom she never went to, about a life that didn't turn out the way she thought, but still felt full somehow. Every day, Betty would say, "You get to choose whether you make the world better or bitter." Emma didn't have much, but she had Betty. And in the darkest moments, when bills went unpaid, when her mother cried behind closed doors, Emma found light in those cafeteria conversations. What Emma didn't know was that Betty had a secret. Over the years, Betty had saved every single tip from that jar. She had cashed out her own savings, clipping coupons and skipping new shoes so she could add to it quietly. When Emma was a junior, Betty went to the school board and asked if there was a way to anonymously contribute to a college fund. "There's a girl," she said. "She doesn't even know she's meant for more, but I do." The school board said it wasn't usual, but they'd find a way, and so they did. Fast forward to graduation day. The gymnasium was packed. The valedictorian speech had wrapped. The principal was at the mic, ready to dismiss the class of 2025. But then he paused. "We have one more speaker," he said. "Someone who wants to share a story." Emma, now standing with her cap slightly crooked and her heart full of nerves, watched as Betty Sanders slowly walked to the podium. She didn't have a speech, just a worn envelope in her hand and a voice full of feeling. "I've served this school for 3 decades, Betty said, "and I've seen thousands of kids walk through this cafeteria. But sometimes God gives you a nudge, says, 'That one. Help that one.'" She looked at Emma. "You didn't know this, sweetheart. But every time you helped clean those tables, every time you smiled even when it hurt, I saw someone who was going to change the world. So I saved up tips, paychecks, pennies, and coffee cans. And today I'm giving it to you. It's not much, but it's enough for your first year of college. Enough to get you started." Emma's knees buckled. The gymnasium stood silent. And then someone clapped. Then another. Then everyone. She ran to the stage, hugging Betty like she was clinging to a life raft. There were no words, just tears and the kind of silence that means everything has changed. Emma went on to graduate from college. She became a counselor working in public schools, helping kids like the one she used to be. She started a scholarship in Betty's name, funded by cafeteria staff and students alike. It's called the Good Things Fund. Because Betty was right. Every day we get to choose whether we make the world better or bitter. And sometimes it takes just one act of kindness, quiet, steady, and selfless, to change the trajectory of a life forever.